Welcome back to Mimi's Organic Eats. Today we're making a chocolate bourbon pecan pie. And now this is the same pecan pie that I made at my bake shop for over a decade that all of my customers loved, but I'm adding chocolate. So if you're looking for a twist on the classic pecan pie for this Thanksgiving, or you're just a complete chocoholic like me and you want to add chocolate to everything, then this chocolate bourbon pecan pie is just the recipe you're looking for. Let me show you guys how to make it. And so pecan pie is one of the easiest pie recipes to make. This was one of the first recipes that I taught new staff at my bake shop, and it's one of the recipes that we pushed all throughout the fall season because it's so fast and so easy. And when you own a bakery, you know that time is money, so we were always looking for the quickest desserts to turn out as fast as possible. So if you want to spend a little less time making pie this year, then this is the pie recipe you need. So first we're going to make the pie crust. So I have 127 grams of all-purpose flour and half a teaspoon of cane sugar in my stand mixer. And now if you guys want to make pie crust by hand, you can totally do that. I just think the mixer is so much faster. If you're doing it by hand, you're just going to mix everything together with your hands in one large mixing bowl. Next, we're going to chop 113 grams or 1 stick of cold butter. You guys want to make sure your butter is cold straight from the fridge. This is going to ensure that you get super flaky pie crust. We want to cut this into small cubes. I like to cut the butter stick in half and then cut each half in thirds. Then we're going to cut in cubes from there. Next, I'm going to add the chopped butter into the bowl with the flour. You guys want to make sure you have a 1/4 cup of cold water ready. Now we're going to mix the butter and flour together on low just until the butter and flour mixture looks like wet sand. So you just want to make sure that the butter is completely coated in flour and the pieces are broken up just a little bit. Then we're going to add in all of the cold water at one time and continue to mix until it comes together. You don't want to overmix pie dough, so we're going to finish this with our hands. So make sure you have a piece of plastic wrap ready. Then we're just going to finish mixing the pie dough with our hands and form it into a disc. And you just want to make sure there's no dry bits of flour. If you see butter chunks, that is totally okay. Then form it into a disc, just like this. Now we're just going to wrap it in plastic wrap. Now we're going to let this sit in the fridge and chill for at least 4 hours or overnight. So once your pie crust is ready and chilled, then we're going to preheat our oven to 350 degrees. So now we're going to roll out our pie crust and we're going to par bake it. And so par baking is just a shortened term for partially baked. And so because this is a pecan pie, it starts out as a liquid and then it sets in the oven. So this is why we need to partially bake the pie crust before we add in the filling. If you have a raw pie crust and then you put a liquid filling in it and then you bake it in the oven, the butter in the pie crust is going to start melting as it bakes. And it's going to sink into the middle because the filling is a liquid, so it has nothing to hold that pie crust up with. So this is why we partially bake pie crusts that have a liquid filling. Partially baking the pie crust is going to do 2 things for us. It's going to ensure that the pie crust doesn't fall into the center while baking, and it's going to ensure you have a completely baked pie crust without a soggy bottom. So go ahead and grab your pie pan. I'm using my Lodge cast iron pie pan for this. And this is my top pie pan for anything that I'm making with an all butter pie crust. I love using this pan because it's cast iron, so it conducts heat really well. This is going to ensure you get a super buttery and flaky pie crust and you don't have a soggy bottom. If you guys are using glass or ceramic, it's not ideal because it doesn't get as hot, and so that's where your pie crust can suffer. If you don't have cast iron, I recommend using aluminum or stainless steel. So go ahead and unwrap your pie crust and then we're going to lightly flour both sides. Now we're going to roll out the pie crust until it's just larger than our pie pan. I like to rotate the pie crust about 45 degrees. This is going to ensure you get a nice even pie crust. Feel free to flip it over and add a little bit more flour if you feel like it's getting a little bit sticky. The trick with pie crust is to work fast because we want it to stay as cold as possible, which is going to give us a buttery and flaky crust. So you can test to see how big your pie crust is just by holding your pie pan over the top. And when it's just larger like this, then it's ready. And now I never grease my cast iron pie pan because you don't need to, but if you guys are using something else, I highly recommend greasing it with butter. So now we're just going to transfer this to the pie pan. Now you want to lightly press the pie crust to the sides of the pie pan and to the bottom. Now we're going to take this extra pie dough that's kind of folded over the edge and we're going to roll it into the center of the pie pan. This is going to create our crust. And you just want this to be even with the edge of the pie pan. Now you're going to take your thumb and your pointer of one hand and your pointer of the other hand, and we're going to flute the pie crust. So now we're going to par bake the pie crust. So you're going to need a piece of parchment paper and some pie weight. And now you guys don't need to go out and buy fancy pie weights. That's totally not necessary. I just use plain jasmine rice as my pie weights, and I use the same rice every single time. You just reuse it. If you guys want to use beans, you can totally do that as well, but the beans will kind of give off a smell in the oven. So this is why I like to use rice. So we're going to take the piece of parchment paper and place it over the pie, and we're just going to pour the pie weights on top. So what these pie weights are doing is they're acting as a pretend filling inside the pie. They are the weight that is going to hold up these pie crust edges so they don't fall into the center while the pie crust partially bakes. Now we're going to bake this at 350 degrees for 20 minutes. Once the timer goes off for the pie crust, we're going to remove it from the oven, and then we're going to remove the pie weights. Now we're going to bake the pie crust again for another 5 minutes without the pie weights. This is going to ensure that the bottom of the pie crust is baked enough and we don't have a soggy bottom. So while the pie crust is in the oven finishing up par baking, we're going to make the filling. So you're going to need a small pot, and I have 113 grams of light brown sugar. Next, we're going to add 57 grams of salted butter. Next, we have 43 grams of Dutch cocoa powder. So next we're going to add in 78 grams of organic light corn syrup. And if you guys don't want to use corn syrup or you're avoiding corn, then you guys can use honey in its place. It will have a little bit of a honey flavor though, which is why I never used honey at my bake shop, because I wanted it to taste like true pecan pie, so we were always using the organic corn syrup. And now I like the way the corn syrup directly into the pot. This is going to make it so much easier. And then last we're going to add in a little bit of salt. And now we're just going to put this over medium heat, and we're going to heat until the butter and corn syrup are completely melted. So once the butter and corn syrup mixture is completely combined, then we're going to get 170 grams of raw pecan halves in a large mixing bowl. And then next we're going to pour in the butter mixture into the pecans. And now you want to stir this together a little bit, so we want to coat the mixture with the pecans. It's going to help cool the mixture a little bit before we add in our eggs. And next we're going to add in 2 large eggs. And then you want to stir to combine the eggs completely. Next, we're going to add in 142 grams of semi-sweet chocolate chips. You guys can use dark chocolate chips if you want to, either works. And then last, we're adding in 1 tablespoon of bourbon. And now we're just going to fold this together until everything is completely combined. And now we're going to transfer the filling into the par-baked pie crust. Now we're going to bake this again at 350 degrees for 30 to 35 minutes or until the filling looks set. And now you have a delicious chocolate bourbon pecan pie that is so much better than the classic. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to drop a like and leave a comment below. And if you want more fall pie recipes just like this, be sure to hit that subscribe button and join me next time in the kitchen.